The Authors Forum exists to inspire success. We will talk with authors and others in the publishing industry to bring you essentials and advice. Dr. Veronica Esagui is your host for Authors Forum.
Welcome to the Authors Forum. I'm your host, Dr. Veronica Esagui, and my guest today is Debra Barnett. She is the author of Mastering the Art of Credit Cards. Debra, welcome to the Authors Forum.
Thank you so much, Veronica.
You're very welcome. We're talking about Mastering the Art of Credit Card. Who this workbook is for? It is for anyone with high APRs. What's APRs?
That's the annual percentage rate. And that's the thing that so many people today, they go, oh yeah, I know how to do it. You just pay off your highest APR. That's actually not true, which I show you in the book.
Bring it in. And adults who always pay cash, teens with no credit, parents wanting to teach their teens responsible credit card management. I go for that one. Okay. Small business owners, employees needing additional income, anyone using credit cards.
Yeah. Basically, the American family goes into credit card debt at the rate of $2,000 per year. And the average is around $12,000 of debt. And like next year, it'll be around $14,000 and then $16,000. They're swimming in debt, and they need to have a really good way to get out of it that works.
Your book is going to address that.
It's totally about that. It's both a workbook and a way of thinking. Now, the workbook is really written as a sort of a baseball game. You know, like if you were to play baseball or watch baseball, if you don't understand the rules, it's very boring. And when you get bored, you tend to nod off and fall asleep. It's the same thing with finances. Finance, very dry subject. You start talking finance and people are, So it's very fun. And I have written an entire glossary of finance terms, making them very simple so that people can understand it. Then we go through and we explain that it's a game and how you win the game.
In your glossary, you have a lot of important information. Words like buy card. What is buy card?
Again, you've zeroed in on so like a game, you've got rules. Okay, yeah. But then, so like my older brother, he always rolled out the games for us, and he would read all of the rules and tell us, the children, the smaller children, the rules. He would hold back the strategy, how you win the game, the different ways that you can play the game to really take advantage of the rules. And so the one thing is you've got the rules of the game, and then we go into the strategy of how you really can win at it. And the buy card is one of those words that I've coined that you can see later on. It's like you want to roll all of your things onto one card. You don't want to be buying on this, buying on that, buying this, because then you're going to have all these little minimum payments. You know, I got to pay on this, I got to pay on that. It's not going to get you anywhere. If you focus it all on one card, you know, pay one payment and get into the debt and pay the debt down.
In the old days when I came to America about 50 years ago.
In the old days?
In the old days, 50 years ago. I remember someone telling me, oh, well, in America, it's good to have a charge card. That's how you get to create good credit. What do you think of that?
It's true.
It is true?
It is true.
But how do you stop from crediting yourself by overcharging? That's where the book comes on handy, right? Yes.
So in the book, I talk about the difference between easy and simple. And you can say, well, that's easy, that's easy, that's easy. I use Schwarzenegger as an example. You know, it's like, you know, everybody knows he's big muscle, you know, and it's like, and if you said to him, like, well, how do you keep so fit? He'd go, well, it's really easy. I just get up at 4 a.m., you know, and I work out for hours, and then and that's not easy, that's simple. The simple thing is he gets up, he works out for X amount of hours. But is it easy to pull yourself out of bed at 4 a.m.? No. Is it easy to get out in that cold? No. So the difference, so we're building muscle, you know, and it's like, this is how it goes. These are the rules, just like if you were to practice football, you need to practice paying on time and doing the right things. And but you have to understand what those right things are first.
And you actually address something like that, which was very interesting, but it speaks an awesome amount of knowledge in here. Would you read this to the audience and our viewers out there?
Oh, okay. So this is just this one little page that is about me, and I'll read it. So I once taught a little girl to swim at her dining room table with a cola and a straw because the essence of swimming is controlling your breathing.
Excellent.
Later, I taught the little girl to ride her bicycle in the pool, straddling a kickboard, because the essence of bike riding is balance. Now I'd like to teach you the art of credit cards, because the essence of great credit is not necessarily having lots of money, it's organization and timing. And truly, timing is everything.
Very good. Everyone can understand what you are speaking about. So the book is easy to read.
It
and
is.
Anybody can read it and get a benefit from it.
Absolutely.
Correct? Very good. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What makes you an expert on this type of subject?
Well, expert is a word I don't like to use,
Okay.
but why I wrote this book and why I was good at it. Okay, so I spent years in the restaurant industry as an executive. When my husband had his business, it was a really great business, and he had a headhunting business that had very large fees, and he said, when I find the person, they hate me because they have to pay the very large fee. When I don't find the person, they're unhappy because I haven't found the person. He goes, they never seem to be happy. No matter what I do, I want to have this. So he wanted to launch a business that was going to be so different from what he had. I was like, oh my goodness, what you're talking about is a 24/7 business with low margins. It's like you're opening a restaurant and you're going to need some help. So I left my field and I went in to help him. And I thought it'd be like 2 or 3 years, but it was a long time because, and we had to watch every penny, and this was in the early 90s. And so the whole thing was rolling out right then of the points. The points were brand new, and we were so small. I had to do all the mail, and I would read the junk mail, and I'd be like, I started saving the points on American Express so that I could collect those and then send my salespeople to Texas or wherever they had to go because we didn't have the money. And I had to figure out a phrase from my mom and dad, and maybe a lot of you remember this. Bill time was, don't rob Peter to pay Paul, or I'm going to have to rob Peter to pay Paul, or I have to, I had to figure out, where am I going to get the money to pay these bills? So I got very ingenious, and a lot of those strategies are in here. Some of that is, a lot of people are linear. And so it's like the first of the month, I have to pay everything that's due on the first of the month. And then on the 5th, I'll worry about that on the 5th. And then on the 30th, but if you look at the whole month, if you pull it all together and see everything that you need, then you might say, like, it makes way more sense if I go over here first, and then over there, and then over here. And then you can get a lot more done that way. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but it works.
So if they find something in the book that they would like to even learn more about it, is there a website or a way to contact you?
Well, I have a website, and this is a book, but it's a workbook. And it was designed, there's a part that you read, and then each thing is addressed. And it has been designed so you could do this at home with a pencil and a pad or a computer, either way. There's a CD in there, sure. And then all of that step by step is here. And then what we have is a section where I took a live person from the group that I was training and said, just, where are you? Give me a snapshot. Everything right now. And I would say she was a hot mess. In here, her exact scenario. And step by step, we took this, then we took that, then you took that, then you took that. Today she works as a financial advisor.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Very good. That is an incredible way of mastering credit cards and knowing how to control your life so that you don't go under.
Exactly.
Right? Who put this book cover together, and why Mona Lisa on the credit card?
Well, this was my design. And I think we all know that Mona Lisa arguably is like one of the most famous, just her name, you just say it's like, that is the master of art. And why I call it art is it's a finessing, there are choices to make. It's a game going on. And it's the strategies of using your cards correctly to build. And a lot of people think of debt as bad, but there's good debt and there's bad debt. And there's a term out there that most people in the industries know as OPM, which stands for other people's money. And you always want to use other people's money whenever possible. And that's what credit cards are when you keep them at 0%.
So with your book, and I love the cover, by the way.
Thank you.
But as I turned, I saw this picture inside, and I was wondering what it's meant to be.
Oh, okay. The Fibonacci sequence, there is a page in here that explains all about the Fibonacci sequence and the art behind the book and kind of little hidden messages and little, like sometimes when you go to the movies, the producers and the directors have little tuck-in little things.
You think it's like the subliminal message?
Well, it's not exactly subliminal because I tell you about it, but it's like if you have an interest to understand and look at it, it's a fascinating, that whole thing is very fascinating, the Fibonacci sequence too.
And when did you know the book was done? It was ready to be published?
Oh.
How long did it take you to do it, and when did you know it was done, ready to go?
Well, I work with some youth groups. I teach leadership. And in one of those groups, it was a 16-week course, and I had coached it with a friend years ago, and I hadn't done it for a while, but he called me up and he said, would I coach that with him? He was in San Francisco. And so I'm like, sure. But what had changed in the time that I originally coached it with him and then coaching it was that the coaches also had to take on a project. And I'm like, really? You hadn't told me about that part. So anyway, my project for coaching those people through leadership in their communities was writing this book. So I had to have it done in 16 weeks.
Wow. Mm-hmm. But you must have, so that's when the idea came to you?
Yes, each person that I coached had to come up with a project that they felt would move their community. And I thought one of the biggest things was people in debt and the angst that comes out of that. I don't know about your family, but my mom and dad, money was tight. And every month when they went to pay bills, there were arguments and screaming and fighting. And we ran for the covers and under the beds. And it was not a happy thing. And like children shouldn't have that kind of angst. And it would be great to alleviate families of that and also bring in more money for them to have to spend.
What do you think is the big attraction to the American public to go into debt with credit cards?
Self-discipline. I think our discipline has gone out the window a little bit. If you had a $20 bill and you went in, you would not spend $21 because that's all you had was the 20. With a credit card, it's like, 20, 25, 30, or, my child wants this, he's, okay, so we, but again, if you understand how they work and can manage them, you can buy a lot of things on and pay them off in such a way that you're not paying 10 times the price.
So would that help also people that are near bankruptcy?
That's a great question. Now, this is something that I would want people to absolutely check, but I have checked with the bankers that I know that said if you call those companies that are the bankruptcy types, you're treated as if you have gone through a bankruptcy, even if you haven't declared bankruptcy. So this book teaches you how to pay off your credit cards, but in such a way that it strengthens your credit at the same time. It goes through different tips, like for instance, here's a quickie, the minimum payment. The minimum payment, everyone knows what a minimum payment is, right? Say your minimum payment is $25. If you pay $26, just $1 more, you go into another category higher because you pay more than the minimum payment. And it's a computer. Doesn't matter if it's 50 cents more. Now you're in another bracket of better credit.
There's a lot of young people that are coming out of school and they have no idea how to handle money. And so there's this whole new world where they're coming out of this security kind of a warm comfort zone where they are in school, and now they're facing the world. Don't you feel that this book would be very helpful?
You must be reading my mind. I do workshops for young girls. They're 16, 17 years old, juniors and seniors in high school. And we go through this workbook, and they get it.
High school?
And they get it.
That would be
It's
even
great
better.
to go before college, before they rack up all their debt.
Yes, that's right. So how old, let's say I have a daughter or a son, and I want to buy this book for them. How old should they be? When should I introduce this book to someone of to them? What age?
I've heard that some people are giving their kids credit cards at 15, and I think if you're giving your child a credit card, it should come with this book.
Okay.
To understand
Excellent.
how you're using it.
Excellent idea. I like it. I would encourage you that I would like to mention this to everybody out there, that when they get the card, they should get the book. And there's also a CD enclosed in the back page where it gives you all the information on how to set it up. I think it's wonderful, absolutely wonderful that you wrote this book.
Okay. Well, thank you,
Maybe
Veronica.
get our country out of debt. Maybe they should go for the politicians out there, how to budget their money. Sorry, maybe I shouldn't say that, but I think everybody should have that book. Okay.
We're going to be doing a training. Get your book, get your pencil, get your bills right, get it all together, and then if you need any help and you feel like you can't do it alone, or you just need that extra camaraderie, then you can watch and do it along with us. It's really, and I have a special price in here if they're getting in bulk for grandmas. It's like the volume buyers and the grandmas that want to give one to every grandchild. They get a special discount. So I went in to upgrade my phone plan, and the young gal, she might have been 20, 22 years old, and she said, well, we have a special going on now, and for the same price, for free, you can have double the minutes for the same. And I said, well, no thanks. And she goes, and she looked at me really odd, and she said, no, it's free. You can have double the minutes. And I said, I heard, no thanks. And she was like, okay, it's hard enough to sell something, but I'm trying to give you something for free, and you don't want it. And she just, she looked like she was gonna cry. And I said, let me explain why I don't want it. And she's like, okay. And I said, 2 months, you're extending something from 30 days to 60 days. That's long enough to develop a habit. You want me to develop the habit of double minutes so that I won't be able to cut back, and so I will continue to spend double minutes the rest of my entire time, which your marketing guys have devised. I'm gonna say no thank you.
Wow.
And then she was like, oh, okay. First one that turned it down, but it's like, but she understood why.
Argue against that, yes, exactly. Yeah, it's all basically gimmicks.
Everyone's out there, and that's the game. The game is to make you spend, and your game is to like, or figure a way around it.
Which almost it doesn't make sense, because if you're overcharging and then you can't pay them back, how do they get their money, right?
They increase your line.
Yeah.
But they just can increase the line and increase the line. You're going more and more and more. But and we address that in the book.
How much research did you have to put in to get the book written?
That's a great question. Because I'd been doing this myself, this wasn't something like I just figured out. I had been doing this for 10 years or more, the system in here. So I already had I must get 15 or 20 offers a day. I mean, they just flock in. So a lot of this is just right off of like taking some of the fine print of looking over your statement. We have some statements in here. It's like reading this and reading that, and what does that mean, and what does this mean? So my research was just kind of mailed to me, and then I was able to go through it and put it in order. A lot of people go like, I pay cash for everything. And that's great to pay cash, but sometimes you might need credit. So I had a person who was 65, 70 years old, and he'd been paying cash all his life. We started a program for him to develop. He's got an 800 credit score now.
That's fantastic. And you are available to speak at high schools and colleges and so on.
Yes, we do trainings.
You do the trainings?
We do trainings.
Okay, not just going in and speaking for 1 hour, but actually...
We do a training that, like you say, you can watch along with the television, or you can come in and do a training. I usually do about 25 to 30 people in the room.
Okay.
And they bring in their book. What they need to have is 1 month's compilation of the debts, like all of their statements, because you'll need to create your very own, and no one's peeking over your shoulder and looking, but you need to write down everything of which creates an awesome, it's an easy way to see what your monthly budget is. It's like, ooh, we didn't know we were spending that much, or, and so it's all a part of that program.
And is there a credit card that's better than another?
There are some kinds of credit cards that you don't even need and shouldn't have, and I don't even know if they're still making them anymore. Some of them are more friendly than others, certainly. And we talk about that in the fine print.
Okay. So, Debra, if you...
I'm not going to name names.
That's okay.
I'm not naming names.
It's okay. Debra Barnett currently enjoys over $300,000 in credit lines with all of her debt at 0% interest. How did you do that?
Little by little.
Little by little.
I mean, but yes, I'm not saying this is not this is not the magic pill that you take it and tomorrow you're debt free. But it is a plan, and it might take some people 3 months, it might take some people 6 months, it might take some people 3 years, but it's worth it.
Thank you, Debra, for
Thank
coming
you so
here.
much,
This is
Veronica.
awesome.
Awesome.
I really enjoyed talking to you. I learned a lot, and I intend to learn more with your book. And until the next Authors Forum, have a most inspiring week. Thank you.
Thank you.